We are streaming live to Facebook. It is great to be with everyone this evening. Thank you as well to who is in the view, which is Francoise Lapchuk. So amazing to have you with us tonight, Francoise. How are you tonight?
I'm fine. I'm always so enjoying this meeting with you.
Amazing. Well, I thoroughly enjoy it with you and appreciate it too, because you've brought with you a summary of the chapters we're going to be reading tonight.
Yeah, because sometimes it's if we don't know what we are going to hear, if we have an idea of what is going on, it kept our attention a little bit more and more interest. So if we know a little bit in advance what we'll be saying, so that's what I thought I could just bring some resume of that.
I love it. So if you want to do the resume or the summary of chapter 9, Francoise, we're going to dive right in. I've shared with you who are watching this with us live over on Facebook, the Zoom link, if you want to be in the view, so you can actually have conversation with us about this subject of the human aura by Kuthumi, which I'm going to have the chapters on display that I'm reading because I'm going to read it straight from the screen as we are here live with you. So not holding anything back. And Francoise, if you want to do chapter 9 summary, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, and the title is The Protection of the Aura. So sometimes we may not realize how necessary is the protection of our aura. And we don't know most of the time that we can ask and receive from the angelic hosts by a simple call to them to have their protection, and we can receive from them a positive answer to our call. So we can just say, beloved angels or my guardian angel, please protect my aura. So along in the chapter, the Master Kuthumi is saying to us that we must intensify our contact with our guardian angels or with any angels of different race as a mean to fortify our aura, because their love is so great. And especially when we invite them to come into our aura because we need their protection. So they are already there if we just make a simple call, as I said just before, because we just want to align ourselves with the purposes of God. Our aura is meant to be the aura of God. So these guardian angels, or whatever angelic host, how we want to call them, are the power and the perfection and the strength of God that is immediately into our manifestation in the world of form when we call them, and they cannot come and into our aura if we don't call them. This is what we call the law of cycle and the law of octaves, because they are in the octave of light. They cannot come in the octave of matter if we are not making the call to them. So they respect that law that we call the law of octave. And if we call them, they can come into matter. Even if we don't see them, we can feel their presence and their protection because we need their protection. So another thing that Kuthumi is saying is that our aura is like the garment of God, a garment that God gave us that was designed to intensify his love. So we are meant to intensify and to demonstrate the love of God, the wisdom of God. And sometimes because we live in matter, we live according to the world and not to the world of light, then we tear and we break some part of this mantle of light. And we should see it as the swaddling garment of love and light that we have received from God. And we must see it tightly wrapped up around us. And when we call the angels, they come and they secure and they bring it more tightly around us with light. So, you know, one day our aura should become the wedding garment of our soul to marry to the Christ. What we call the alchemical marriage. It's an inner initiation of the soul, who becoming steely white as the pure light of God is reinforced. So the whole chapter is about the protection of our aura.
Thank you, Francoise. Absolutely beautiful. I appreciate you for sharing that with us. I want to pull up the screen now. So we are live over on Facebook, and over here, 4pillars.higherconsciousness.ca is the website that has been put together for you to be able to access pillars 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the teachings of the Ascended Masters. So tonight, the studies of the human aura is what we are reading. After we've finished it, we will get into studies in alchemy with Saint Germain, the science of self-transformation, and alchemical formulas for self-mastery as pillar 3. And then eventually we'll get back to the same book, because these 4 have come down into 2, where Dijwal-Kool's intermediate studies of the human aura is actually in the same book as what we are reading tonight. So we'll go to pillar 1. We will also show you the secret keys, which we shared last week as a way to be able to actually integrate these energies at a deeper level. So please do make sure you check out these secret keys. The Fahatic keys are light that is transmitted in the information that is shared, and your cells are able to receive that light based on how intentional you have made the vessel to be able to receive it. So we actually use pearl calls to be able to call on the master who gifted us the teaching, to be able to unlock more keys from within it that wouldn't have been accessible to our consciousness if we hadn't intentionally programmed ourselves to have higher levels of access. Would there be anything you want to add to that, Francoise?
No, that's I think it's a good resume, and the call is wonderful to make.
Awesome. Okay. I'm just going to duplicate this so that we can flip back to the pearl call right after we have actually read the chapter. I'm going to get straight into it because I want to honor everybody's time. And once again, I want to just say a huge thank you, Francoise, for doing this with me, because what I can honestly say is the fact that you show up with me each week, it means that I don't really have to think about this. I show up for the meeting. We do a great job because you've prepared, and we do a great job live together. And so I really appreciate you being a really compassionate compliment to the holding of space for this sharing of amazing information. So we've already read all of these chapters up to the protection of the aura, as Francoise said. So I'm just going to dive straight in. Chapter 9, the protection of the aura. Beware of those who by intellectual argument or religious dogma seek to destroy your beautiful faith in the gossamer veiled protection of the angels. By his unbelief, man has failed to realize the magnificent protection that the human aura can receive from the angelic hosts. By his lack of recognition and his lack of attunement, he has allowed himself to pass through many harrowing experiences that could have been avoided by a simple cry for assistance to those beings whom God ordained from the foundation of the world to be his swift messengers of love, wisdom, and power. As a side note, Francoise, you are wearing those colors. If after we could even talk about that in the yellow, pink, and blue being the colors of the sacred chamber of the heart's threefold flame.
Yes, we can talk about that. That's very interesting.
Definitely it is. Okay, we'll get back, guys. Have you thought upon the love, wisdom, and power that the angels convey? May I suggest that you do it today? For over the track of your thoughts and the extension thereof into spiritual realms, over the swift and well traveled pathways of the air, these infinite creatures of God's heart, serving so gloriously in his name and power, fly on pinions of light to do his bidding and to respond to your call. What a pity it is that some men lack the sweet simplicity of heart and mind that would allow them to speak unto the angels. By their sophistication, their worldly wise spirit, their hardness of heart, and their refusal to be trapped by the plots of heaven, they literally cut themselves off from so much joy and beauty, and their lives are barren because of it. Will you then begin today the process of initiating or intensifying your contact with the angelic host as a means of fortifying your aura with what amounts to the very substance of the outer corona, of the flame of God's own reality directed and glowing within the auric fires of the angelic hosts? How they love to receive the invitation of mortal men who desire to align themselves with the purposes of God. And do you know these powerful beings cannot fail in their mission when they are invited by an embodied flame of light, a son of God, to come and render assistance? Once mankind understands this fact, that the angelic hosts will respond to their calls, once they understand that these emissaries of heaven are bound by cosmic law to respond to their pleas and to send assistance where it is needed, they will also realize that even Christ availed himself of the ministrations of the angels throughout his life. Standing before Pontius Pilate, he said, "Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels?" The angelic hosts are the armies of God, the power, the service, the perfection, and the strength of God flowing from the realm of immortality into immediate manifestation in the mortal domain, establishing the needed contact between God and man. Consider for a moment how the Master employed the angelic hosts, not only in Jessamine, but also in his healing ministry. How he remained in constant attunement with them, acknowledging their presence in a spirit of oneness and brotherhood, esteeming them as the messengers of his Father. By startling contrast, the spurning of the angelic hosts by an ignorant humanity has caused many to fall under the negative influences of the dark powers that hover in the atmosphere, seeking to destroy mankind's peace, power, and purity. I cannot allow this series to terminate without sounding the trumpet of cosmic joy on behalf of the angelic hosts. Many of us who are now classified as saints by some of the Christian churches invoked the angels when we, as spiritual devotees, offered ourselves unto Christ in the service of humanity, knowing full well that of ourselves we could do nothing. Therefore, we look to the assistance of the angelic hosts as God's appointed messengers. We did not expect God himself to come down into the everyday situations we encountered that required some special ministration from heaven, but we knew that he would send legions in his name with the seal of his authority and power to do his bidding. How tragic it is that some men, through the puffiness of human pride, will speak only to God directly, thereby ignoring those whom God has sent, including the ascended masters and the sons and daughters of God upon the planet, to whom is given a special ordination of conveying the message of truth unto humanity. It is so unnecessary for a distraught humanity engaged in numerous wars and commotions betwixt themselves to also launch an offensive against those who in truth defend every man's Christhood in the name of God. To go forth with his power and in his name is a calling of considerable magnitude. May our protection abide with the brothers of the golden robes, serving at unascended levels, who in wisdom's gentle name would teach men the truth of the ages and thereby receive within their auras that celestial song that is the glory of God in the highest and the peace of God on earth to all men of goodwill. The message of the angels that rang out over the plains of Bethlehem at the birth of Christ has since been heard by the few in every century with the angel ministrants, yet the light of the angels is for all. How could it be that we so carelessly forget, as mankind have done, the service and the devotion of the angels directed from an octave of power and beauty interpenetrating your own? Will you then consider in the coming days and throughout your whole life the blessed angels, not only the mighty archangels, but also the cherubim and seraphim? For there are many who will reach up to the great archangels, such as the beloved Michael, Shamuel, and Uriel, without ever realizing that even they, in their great God estate, have their helpers who, in the performance of their novitiate and in their own aspirations to rise in the hierarchy of angels, will do almost any divine kindness on behalf of the children of God on earth when called upon by them to do so. All should understand, then, the need to make the request. For heaven does not enter the world of men unbidden, and the tiniest angel in all of heaven welcomes the love and invitation of men to be of service. The information I have given you can help you to consummate in your life the building and charging of an aura with a radiance so beautiful that as it sweeps through your consciousness, it will sweep out the ignorance of the human ego and replace it with the light of the Christ. Wherever you move, God moves, and his angels accompany him. Let your auras be charged with such purity and determination to do the will of God and to be an outpost of heaven, that if your shadow should but fall upon another whom God has made, healing, joy, beauty, purity, and the extension of divine awareness would come to him. You belong to God. Your aura, the garment of God given to you, was designed to intensify his love. Do not tear it. Do not carelessly force it open. But as a swaddling garment of love and light, keep it tightly wrapped around you. For one day, like the ugly duckling that turned into a swan, the aura will become the wedding garment of the Lord, steely white light reinforced by the divine radiance that no man can touch, that literally transforms the outer man into the perfection of the presence, preserved forever intact, expanding its light and glowing as it grows with the fires of home and divine love. We will seal this with a pearl call so that we can extract as much as possible from the lesson that beloved Master Kuthumi.
Kuthumi, yeah.
So in the name, and so we'll just, as a practice, when we do a pearl call, we mute out ourselves in Zoom meetings that you are actually in, and we invite you to come out next week for the next 2 chapters that we'll be reading as well. So definitely please do come, and then you're muted and we read it together. So even as you're just listening at home, read this with us so that it allows you to receive it at a deeper level too. In the name of beloved Lord Ma-Terre, Elmoira, and Guru Ma, I ask and command my I Am presence and beloved Master Kuthumi to lower into my heart center your momentum of light and the energy of the dictation I have just read in order to transmute a corresponding portion of my human consciousness and human creation. Absorb my human consciousness and return it to me, requalified and purified. Pass the flame of your higher consciousness through the density and debris of my lower consciousness. Take in the energy of my microscopic consciousness to your heart's altar. Consume and transmute it, and return to me the purified substance, the original innocence that is my higher consciousness. As you'll notice, Higher Consciousness is actually the website, higherconsciousness.ca. 4 Pillars is just one of the pages within that website. So definitely enjoy perusing that when you have an opportunity to do so. We're going to move into the summary or resume Francoise reads of the Purification of the Aura, please.
Yeah, just before I read the resume, chapter 10, the purification of the aura, I just would like to tell the people who could be listening right now that on the website of tsl.org, there is something very precious that is called Archangel class or Archangel lessons. So if they would like to just to know how we can make friends with the angel, the archangel, so you have them, you just had them on top. There's the class, yeah, Archangel Lessons, free spiritual lessons on tsl.org. So they could just click there, receive 10 lessons, or I think it's 8 or 10 lessons. They can study at home. It's free, and you could know all the archangel on the 7 rays that you can call to help you, help in your family, help going on with your life. And there's an angels. If you are fearful of something, you call for Archangel Uriel. So we would learn how about every one of these archangels, and it's so wonderful to have that in our life. It's so wonderful because we are feeling we are accompanied, protected, guided, inspired in love, in wisdom, in protection, whatever aspect of our life we would like to be accompanied spiritually. So this class is a really wonderful gift to offer to oneself.
Absolutely love that.
Yes, it's really precious.
Well, thank you for sharing those resources with us. And so tsl.org, summitlighthouse.com. What did you say? tsl.org?
tsl.org, yeah.
tsl.org leads you to summitlighthouse.org. And then it's just right here, those archangel lessons are. So
and for further studies, when you will be studying the second pillars, or the third or the fourth, you can have access to these classes, because there's classes on chakras, classes on reincarnation and karma. So you have so many things you can just study and open yourself at. It's just like open a window to a beautiful picture before you, and a scenery that you can dream for your life. So
love it. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm coming back.
Okay.
Chapter 10, Purification of the Aura.
Perfect.
Okay. So we must, in that chapter, Kuthumi said, we must remember that our aura is our light. Aura can be our light. It's the sum total of the emanation of our individual life in its pure and sometimes impure state. It's one or the other. So Kuthumi invite us to be just humble like a child, acknowledging that we have made an error, and we sincerely attempt to correct and purify our aura. That's all the work we need to do, to be humble, to be like a child who is trusting that he can be forgiven, and he wants to correct himself and just want to change. So we have been provided by God of the gift of free will, so that through the making of rightful choices, we can find our way to the grace of God. God had placed his image of divine perfection within the human aura. So this is something important. We are not just human, having a human aura. Within us, there is all the potential and the seed of the light of God in ourselves. So in most people, some light can be perceived as a point of beginning, as a vortex around which greater light can be magnetized. So we must hold the immaculate concept for one and for all, starting by ourselves. Mother Mary, in a dictation said, Mother of Jesus said, "You may have sinned. It does not make of you a sinner." This is something very important. So Kuthumi, in his way, is telling us the same thing, that we must try to amplify everything that is good and true in ourselves. And this is the way we can purify our aura. And he gives other tricks, little tricks also.
All right, well, let's get into those tricks. Thank you for that awesome summary, Francoise. I'm just going to pull up the screen. Any final words before we read?
I see it, that's fine.
Perfect. If you are watching this video, if you are receiving value, please share this message with somebody else that needs to understand. In the call right before this, Empowering Leaders of Self Mastermind group that we start at 5:55 Eastern Standard Time and run till about 7:30. We don't record it now simply because we want to make sure that it's a safe container for the organic unfoldment of us, and that we have a community to be able to actually belong to, so that regardless of who we live around, we are not the only ones in our immediate environment, because we have intentionally connected ourselves with others in other environments that understand what's going on and are able to shine light on the Luciferian false light that we see being reflected back to us with the craziness of all that is currently going on. So understanding the fact that if we actually are able to strengthen our aura by actually using one of the decrees, I mentioned it in the last call, so I'm just going to actually give it here if you don't mind, Francoise. If you want to do it with me as well, the tube of light decree. Essentially, all it is beloved, I am presence bright around me, seal your tube of light from ascended master flame, called forth now in God's own name. Let it keep my temple free from all discord sent to me. I am calling forth violet fire to blaze and transmute all desire, keeping on in freedom's name till I am one with the violet flame. Beloved, I am presence bright around me, seal your tube of light from ascended master flame, called forth now in God's own name. Let it keep my temple free from all discord sent to me. I am calling forth violet fire to blaze and transmute all desire, keeping on in freedom's name till I am one with the violet flame. Beloved, I am presence bright around me, seal your tube of light from ascended master flame, called forth now in God's own name. Let it keep my temple free from all discord sent to me. I am calling forth violet fire to blaze and transmute all desire, keeping on in freedom's name till I am one with the violet flame. 3 times of the tube of light decree morning and night will help you stay in your own light, and to make sure that any reflections that come at you are able to see themselves, because you have strengthened your field, which is what Neo used to hold back the bullets when they came at him and he was not penetrable. That was his tube of light. So that decree, you can literally cut that little piece and be able to take that and then understand your violet fire. Actually, the violet flame is burning around you in between your tube of light, and your aura is full of that violet flame that transmutes karma and helps you be able to lift some of that density of our karma that keeps us bound in the cycle of samsara, or reincarnation, and the cycle of suffering. So that is a huge tool. Anything else we want to share before the purification of the aura, Francoise?
You have just given an example of the science of the spoken word. So when we say, I am present bright, we are calling the name of God and the power of God in our life. So this is changing our aura. If we stay with the idea of the aura and the protection and the purification of the aura, this tube of light, you sing it, you recite it, and it's really purifying the aura. And it's also a very strong protection for your light, protection for your heart, your mind, and spirit and soul. So what we are doing when we recite it 3 times in the morning, 3 times, it could be 3 times almost every day, and during all the day you are going shopping, you are with a lot of people, and finally you are gathering all the energy of the people in your aura. So with a tube of light, when you go someplace where you are alone, you can sing it, you recite it, and then you are cleansing your aura from all this energy that you have gathered when you were with a lot of people at the same time. So this is a very, very good to know.
Very good point as well, because this could actually potentially, you'll have to be the alchemist in your own life, help with panic attacks or anxiety attacks, because when something, when the momentum of all of the emotions are hitting you in the present moment, if it's, you have to ask, is this mine in the first place? Because if those momentums are hitting you and it's not even yours, it's collective consciousness, and your aura is weak, so it's coming straight in and you're confused. Is this mine or is this something else? Like, this doesn't seem familiar, but this feels very familiar. Like, what do I do in this situation? Is this mine? Is a great question that your subconscious will respond to, yes or no. It will tell you the truth because your subconscious always speaks to you truthfully.
I just want to add something. You said something important. We are the alchemist of the color and the vibration of our aura. And this is what in the previous chapter, Kuthumi was telling us. We have received the free will from God to keep the light, protect the light, amplify the light, or to just let it go and to live like anybody on earth, as if we were only living in matter, but we are the spirit making an experiments on earth in a matter world. So we are responsible. We have, I would say, we have to respect this this free will we have received. Free will means we can choose. So there's always a second of time where we can choose this or that, what is the best and what is the worst for us. And it's not always the case, but there's always so many choices to make in just one day. So just remember, just remember that we have free will.
Yes, and indecision is a decision as well. So we have to really be willing to get off of the fence, because when we're trying to sit on a post and not be swayed either way, we're more subject to the wind than if we actually surrender and allow ourselves to be a cooperative co-creator in the process without being in our heads and instead dropping into our heart, so that we create a safe space, a way to access a sense of home regardless of where we are in the outer world. We bring that sense of home with us, because your house doesn't mean it's home to you if you don't feel like you belong there. Like, our home is where you go. It's like anytime I'm traveling, I'm home wherever I am. It's like, oh yeah, I'm home for the night. You know, it's just like my room is home because I'm already home in myself. So it's just, oh yeah, home for the night. And if we can bring that with us and understand home is just a sense, and if we can create it when we feel safe, then it's easier to access when we feel unsafe. And we live in an unsafe world right now. So I want to turn the light on before we read this chapter, Francoise. So I'm just going to do that real quick, and then I'm going to...
Okay. I will just add, if we make a wrong choice, we say that we call to the angels to help us right the wrong choice, and just turn around and ask our presence, Ma-Terre presence, our tube of light, to change the vibration and just learn. A wrong choice become a lesson to learn for the next time. That's the only thing we can make of a wrong choice. Just turn around and say, okay, I've learned something, and then just go on. Okay.
Yeah. John Maxwell says, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. He wrote a whole book about it. So definitely be a beautiful work in progress, as each of us are. And so I'm feeling the significance of having the light turned on. I am curious whether a light has turned on in you based on the conversation, based on what you've heard, what you've experienced, what have you felt. I'd really encourage you to leave a comment if you're comfortable, or to shoot me a message and to let me know. Let me also know if you've got any questions or comments or any feedback whatsoever about this book study and what this experience means to you, to be able to understand your own energy system and how to responsibly strengthen that, so that you are able to build that sense of home within yourself. Look at the purification of the aura. Chapter 10. Remember that your aura is your light. Remember that Christ said, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house." Remember that he left this timeless advice as a means of inculcating into the consciousness of the race the inner formula for the proper employment of the human aura. How many men have misunderstood what the aura is and what it can do? The aura is the sum total of the emanation of individual life in its pure and impure state. Often gently concealing from public view the darker side of human nature, the aura puts forth its most beautiful, pearly white appearance before men, as if mindful of the words of God that have come down from iniquity. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Occasionally, the aura will momentarily turn itself inside out, and the more ugly appearance of a man's nature will come to the fore and be seen by those who are sensitive enough to perceive the human aura. This shouting from the housetops of a man's errors ought not always to be deplored, for when the gold is tried in the fire of purpose, the dross often comes to the surface to be skimmed off. Therefore, when from time to time some negative influence appears in yourself or in someone else, consider it not as a permanent blight, but as a thorn which you can break off and remove from the appearance world. The fact that the within has thrust itself to the surface is an application of the principle of redemption. And when properly understood, this purging can mean the strengthening of your aura and your life. As a part of the blotting out process in the stream of time and space, dear hearts, God, in his greater wisdom, often uses exposure to public view or to your own private view as a means of helping you to get rid of an undesirable situation. Have you ever thought of that? What a pity if you have not. Suppressing evil or driving it deep within, tucking it away as though you would thereby get rid of it, does not really do the trick. For all things ought to go to God for judgment, willingly, gladly, and freely. Men ought not to remain burdened by the inward sense of guilt or non-fulfillment that the suppression of truth often brings. For the cleansing of the human aura of these undesirable conditions need not be a lengthy process. Just the humble, childlike acknowledgement that you have made an error and the sincere attempt to correct it will do much to purify your aura. God does not angrily impute to man that which he has already done unto himself through the misuse of free will. For man metes out his own punishment by denying himself access to the grace of God through his infringement of the law. Therefore, the gentle drops of mercy and of God's kindness to man are offered as the cleansing agent of his own self-condemnation. They are like a heavenly rain, refreshing and cool. That is not denied to any. Fill your consciousness then with God delight and observe how the purification of the aura brings onto the angels. Have you never read the words of the Master? Joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repenteth, that more than over 99 just persons, which need no repentance. Oh, what a wonderful world will manifest for humanity when the power of God literally rolls through the heart and being of man untrammeled, flooding the planet with light. Yes, a great deal of instruction will still be needed, for there are so many things that we would reveal, not even dreamed of by the masses. And there is so much ongoingness in the spirit of the Lord that my enthusiasm knows no bounds. Yet mankind should understand that until they have prepared themselves for the great wedding feast to which they have been bidden, they cannot fully know the meaning of the ongoingness of life. For the dark dye of human sorrow and degradation create such a pull upon the consciousness that it is difficult for man to recognize the bridegroom in his God-self. Alas, man, although heavenly by nature, has through the misuse of free will decreased the natural God-given vibratory rate of his atoms to such a low point that even the body temple must be broken again and again in order to arrest the cycles of the sense of sin. This breaking of the clay vessel affords him the opportunity to catch glimpses of reality, which he would never do unless he had first attained self-mastery, if his life were to continue indefinitely in one physical body. How deep and how lovely are the mercies of God! How carefully he has provided for the gift of free will to man, so that through the making of right choices, man can find his way to the throne of grace and there receive the affirmation of his own God-given dominion. Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. I am also reminded of the many devoted souls who through the ages have suffered the condemnation of their fellow men as the result of the misunderstanding of their devotion to purpose. For like Joan of Arc and others who revealed a fiery determination for heaven to manifest upon earth, these great spirits have received little welcome from their peers and little understanding of their mission. Let us hope together for the world that through the spreading abroad of the balm of Gilead and the mercy of God as an unguent of healing, mankind will become unflinching in their devotion to cosmic purpose, even as we intensify our love through the student body, tearing down any altars you may have erected in the past to the false gods of human pride and ambition, and surrendering your momentums of failure to apprehend your reason for being, you will turn now with your whole heart to the development of the most magnificent focus of light right within your own aura. Oh, I know something about the angstrom units, about the vibratory rate of the aura, about its impingement upon the retina of the eye and the interpolation of auras. I know about the subtle shadings that indicate gradations of tone in the thoughts and feelings of the individual, which vacillate as a spunky wind or a frisky colt that has never been ridden. But how much better is it when, rather than label these as typical of the life pattern of another, men see at last the original image of divine perfection which God himself has placed within the human aura? For in most people, some light can be perceived as a point of beginning, as a vortex around which greater light can be magnetized. How much better it truly is when men hold the immaculate concept for one and all, and concern themselves not with the probing of the aura, but with the amplification of all that is good and true about the real man. I do not say that advanced disciples should not use methods of discrimination to discern what is acting in the world of another at any given moment, or that the soul does not use these methods to give warning and assistance to other life streams. Nevertheless, those who are able to discern the face of God in the face of man can retain the perfect image and assist the cosmic plan, even while correctly assessing the present development of a life stream. To hold faith in the purposes of God for another until that one is able to hold it for himself is to ally one's energies with the omnipotence of truth, which intensifies both auras in the richness of cosmic grace, even as it intensifies the aura of the whole planet. I want to bring to every student the realization that just as there is the flame of God in the individual aura, so there is the flame of God in the aura of the planetary body. Every act of faith you perform adds to the conflagration of the sacred fire upon the planet, just as every act of desecration tears down the great cosmic fortification so gently and carefully builded by angelic hands who join with men and masters in service to life. Let all understand the building of the cosmic temple within the microcosm and the macrocosm. The cosmic temple of the aura is an enduring edifice of the sacred fire. The cosmic temple of the world is made up of many auras dedicated to the indwelling spirit of the Lord. Illumined thoughts and illumined feelings will enable individual man and humanity, striving together as one body, to cast into the discard pile those thoughts and feelings and actions not worthy to become a part of the superstructure of the temple of being. Oh, be selective. Oh, be perfective in all your doings. For someone is assigned to watch and wait with you until the moment comes when you can watch and wait with others. Just as the buddy system is used between soldiers in battle and between law enforcement officers keeping the peace in your great cities, so there are cosmic beings, guardian angels, and lovely nature spirits of God's heart, who watch over thee to keep thy way in peace and security, unmoved by mortal doings. For immortality shall swallow up mortality as death is swallowed up in victory, and light shall prevail upon the planet. The strengthening of the aura is a step in the right direction. Let none hesitate a moment to take it. Devotedly and firmly, I remain wedded to the precepts of the Brotherhood. And to seal that in together, in the name of beloved Lord Maitreya, Almoira, and Guru Ma, I ask and command my I Am presence and beloved Master Kuthumi to lower into my heart center your momentum of light and the energy of the dictation I have just read in order to transmute a corresponding portion of my human consciousness and human creation. Absorb my human consciousness and return it to me requalified and purified. Pass the flame of your higher consciousness through the density and debris of my lower consciousness. Take in the energy of my microscopic consciousness to your heart's altar. Consume and transmute it, and return to me the purified substance, the original innocence that is my higher consciousness. Once again, that is from the 4pillars.higherconsciousness.ca website. The secret keys are very interesting for you to be able to read for yourself. So do make sure you go check that out. Auric examples, you can actually see each of the examples that are taken from the book, which we will get to at another time. And for this evening, that is all that we have for you, unless there are questions or comments that you want to share. Jimmy says, we are the light. Heart, indeed. Yes, I love it. Thank you for sharing and participating in the conversation. Thank you for dropping in, for tuning in. Thank you for showing up, Francoise. Thank you for doing your part to share these teachings and for adding value to all of us by offering added insights that others may not be familiar with, because not everyone has had the privilege of gaining access to the teachings of the Ascended Masters so far.
Yeah. You know, having this teaching is really, it's just, for me, just like having beautiful jewel box, because there's so many things we can use and learn to help ourselves in our everyday life. Because as I said before, and I've read that we are not just human being. We are spirit living in a material world and making this experiment. So with the teachers masters, we are adding to our, I would say, daily life, ordinary life of human being. So we know we are coming back to something that is much, much more that we can experience and be more than just what we look like as just human being. So it is our soul, it is the light that is, we learn how to become the light and to live in the light also. So that's why it's so wonderful, something to share with everyone who would like to have that little much more in their life. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. And just because I want to make sure that we've considered this, a time comes in the life of every individual to ask, who am I and why am I here? This is the city of Shambhala. The Shambhala Temple of Light is where you can go on Saturday nights for a live stream for beginners to be able to do some decrees and also receive a teaching. And the reason I brought you here was because I wanted to just offer the tube of light visual right here. As you can see, this is the I am that I am, calling down the I am presence to the ground, where we stand in the violet flame inside of the tube of light, and the middleman between our higher self and our humanly self is the Christ self that acts as the middleman to temper how much of the light is able to reach us based on what that higher aspect of us is aware we are able to withstand and hold, based on what's available to us from our causal body and our previous choices that have been positively qualified we brought with us to remind us of how to walk a godly way.
And you know what, we maybe it's because the picture is small, maybe it's not evident for the people to see that we are related. Yeah, that's nice. We are related to the Christ in us, and our Mighty I Am presence individualized in us through the heart. Through the heart, if you see, there's a kind of white line that is connecting us to the Christ and to our I Am presence. So it's through the heart chakra that we are always in contact with the flame, the presence of God in ourselves. And the picture, the picture that is the lower person in the picture is ourselves in Ma-Terre. And through the heart chakra, we see there is a kind of small threefold flame from which the crystal cord is bringing us in contact directly with our I Am presence that is above us, and through the Christ that is the intercessor, as Jesus has showed us that he became the Christ to show us that each one of us is invited to become the Christ too. So we live in the earth. We can use the bodied flame. We can call to the angels to help us, to surround us. And with the created tube of light, we can have our presence of God around us, and it is already inside of us. We can be, maybe we don't know that it is there, but it is still there. So we can develop the consciousness of being one with the spirit of the Christ, one with the spirit of God, and it's in our heart chakra. And I remember again on tsl.org, there's a class about the chakra. And so we can again listen and learn more about how to be manifesting the light, and how we can cleanse our chakra. And by the lesson with the archangel, we can learn how to have these helpers that we need so much in the days we are living on earth right now. We need a lot of helpers. So these spiritual helpers, we can feel their presence when we call them, and they come because we are putting our heart in the call.
Yes, and this is actually the threefold flame that is said to exist behind the heart chakra.
Yeah, it's a kind of chakra behind the heart chakra. We call it the secret chamber of the heart. So it's behind it, and it's where we have the seed of God in ourselves that we call the threefold flame. And the threefold flame is just like three little plume. One is yellow for the wisdom of God. The other is pink for the love of God. The other is blue for the will of God. So we have come with this gift in our heart, and we can just make it grow in our devotion, in our calls, and in our thinking that we are of God.
Mm-hmm. And you were mentioning about how we're connected to our I am that I am through this threefold flame. And at the very base of it, you see the brilliant bubble of light that is our soul at the very foundation of the love, wisdom, and power that is burning in that space that can be knocked out of balance if any of those plumes are bigger or smaller than others. So the premise of this whole
because
experience.
we are not always aware, but sometimes we love so much, we are out of balance. There's not enough wisdom, or there's not enough power in our love. We are just pure love, but pure human love is not pure love, because there's always something around that is, I love, but I want to receive something in exchange. So we are not really not in total pure love. But if we are, let's say we just want power, and we are very powerful people, but we lack love, or we lack wisdom in our power, then we can become tyrant. So it's an out of balance of the threefold flame, the three, I would say, the three gifts and the three qualities of God in us that are meant to be balanced, equal love, power, and wisdom, enough to really represent this balance of the light of God inside of us.
Wow, look at the yellow beaming in this picture in this moment as the wisdom comes forward. Literally, we've got the Ascended Masters with us, I feel, and I am so grateful that we have had this hour together to talk about the human aura and how to actually protect our aura and to purify our aura. Next week, we're going to come together again, 8 p.m. Thursday evening, Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to read chapters 11 and 12, which are the final two for the human aura. So we've already made it through a whole book, the first pillar. How amazing is that? What a great summer.
It went so fast.
Right?
Yeah, it went so fast. It's, well, I thought we are almost started just a week ago, and now we're already at the end of the book.
Yeah, it's amazing. So really appreciate your being willing to participate and to be able to unpack a teaching that literally not everyone gains access to, even seeing this, because of what it does to our consciousness. So to have seen this tonight, there's a reason, and it's because you're one of the players on the field, and we need you strong. We need you fully connected, and we need you understanding that if you don't positively qualify your choices by making choices aligned to the truth of who you are, you're going to be somebody else's instead of whose you are. And we want to make sure that you understand how to protect yourself from those outer influences that would try to confuse you, at which point you lose you and they gain you. Whereas we want to make sure that you just understand who you are, whose you are, why you came. So that's the end for this evening. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Laura.